Welcome to Monster Hunter Wilds without sharpening. Today we're going to see if we can beat the entire low rank story of Monster Hunter Wilds without sharpening our weapon. For this challenge I'm going to be using the hammer, as it's a weapon I've played very little throughout my time with Wilds, and also the most thematically consistent with not sharpening. This challenge is possible with all the Blade Master weapons, and of course the ranged weapons don't sharpen anyway, so it would be a moot point. As an extra stipulation to this challenge, we will be avoiding all skills based around sharpening. This includes things like handicraft, but also speed sharpening, which while doesn't have an effect on the run as we won't be sharpening anyway, will make our choices of what weapons and armors we can use more interesting by cutting out some options. We've named our hunter and our palico Blunt and Blunter in honour of the challenge, and picked the hammer, and off we go. Before we get into the hunting, the main problem that I can foresee for this run is going to be running out of sharpness, as damage takes a severe nosedive as sharpness goes down. But in the earlier hunts this shouldn't present too much of an issue, as they have low enough health that we should be able to avoid red. So let's hunt Chatacabra. Chatacabra is a nice easy hunt, and it's essentially the tutorial monster of this game. As you can see here, we start going into yellow sharpness, and this is going to be a trend for the runners. We also, throughout this tutorial hunt, get the notification to sharpen our weapon. At some point I also remove it from the range menu, so we don't get any accidental sharpens. So here I'm just getting used to using the hammer, as it's a weapon I haven't played before. I played a little bit of it in Rise, but not in Wilds. The wound system of Wilds is especially interesting in how it interacts here, as it gives us huge openings for the hammer to get into all its charged attacks, such as the Big Bang and Mighty Smash. But this quest took probably longer than it should have, as I was messing with the moveset of the hammer and trying to get into the groove of it. After slaying Chatacabra, we head over to the main camp, and we're going to upgrade our hammer into the Chatacabra hammer. I am looking to get either a sleep or paralysis weapon later on, but I have the Lalabarina hammer in mind. I think that will carry us through most of the run. After this we go slay a few Balaki, which will lead us into the Doshiguma sighting, and then after that we go to the Quematrice. And the Quematrice quest gives me a bit more trouble than I was expecting it to, as the tail catches me out of a lot of my charges. We don't get any fates, and overall we still manage. There's also some optional parts of this quest which we don't achieve, which is choosing the Paratoad and Vine Trap, which serve as a further tutorial towards environmental life and endemic life and what they can use, which is a nice game mechanic for those who aren't used to the Monster Hunter series. And as you can see here, the Focus Blow is doing a lot of the work. We take him down without much issue. We then move on to Lalabarina, and we're hoping to get the hammer from here for the paralysis. Again, this is a pretty uneventful quest. Focus Blow does a lot of work on these lower tier monsters to keep them almost permanently stunned. Lalabarina is quite mobile though, so if we can't keep her tracked down, that could present an issue, but overall we have a pretty good time. It's quite a while before I upgrade my armour, so we do start to see a bit of a defense fall off, but not so huge of a defense fall off that we are in any risk. That was Lalabarina, nice and easy. And as you can see, we make the Lalabarina hammer, which the paralysis will give us huge openings for things like Mighty Slam as we head on to Congalala. I think it's about here in the run where we start to really notice the sharpness fall off. We are going to spend a lot of these hunts at red sharpness, which means we are going to be bouncing a lot. Which lowers our damage significantly, and it also makes it harder to go through a lot of the combos as they reset on bounce. But overall, still not too huge of an issue with Kongala. If anything, the biggest problem here is Konga's knocking us out of moves as we're charging. We can make our way through the fight with relative ease. Again, focus on doing a lot of the work. And then we take out the Fart Monkey. And we move on to Balahara. So Balahara is a really interesting fight because it spends quite a significant chunk under the ground where we can't hit it. Reminiscent of almost a less annoying Cephadrome from the older games. Paralysis is doing a lot of work in combination with focus blows here to keep us paralyzed for a significant amount of the fight, so we can get lots of big damage in. Which is nice because after using the hammer, I do find it to be a little weaker in comparison to the other weapons, but not unusual. We hit 2 paralyzers in this one because I think Balahara is quite weak paralysis resistance. And then after this, we go almost immediately into the Doshiguma fight. It's a nice combo with the Flash Fight with Pillar. Definitely the highlight of the Balahara fight. And then we take it down. We release the livestock to chase the Doshiguma out into the fields, ready to hunt out the Doshiguma. But I didn't realise, and I probably should have abandoned the quest after this started, but because the Balahara quest goes straight into the Doshiguma quest, I have absolutely no sharpness. So I just do this entire hunt with essentially 0 sharpness. So realistically, if you were to attempt this challenge at home, I would recommend abandoning the quest and starting it again so you can have full sharpness. Again, the paralysis and focus blows doing a lot of the work, but the pace of the fight slows to a crawl when we hit empty sharpness. Luckily, Doshiguma doesn't have any hugely hard hit zones, so we don't get too many bounces, otherwise this could have been a much more obnoxious fight. We get him down to capture health. From there we get a few visits from Raydal throughout the hunt as he's flying around due to the sand tide, but other than that everything goes pretty smoothly other than a feint due to bad positioning. Once we wrap this quest up, we are going to make 3 pieces of the Doshiguma armour and 2 pieces of Balahara armour, which will boost our defense and give us some skills to work with, and we're going to keep the Lalamarina hammer for a little bit longer. Having more than 2 pieces of the Doshiguma armour also gives us the powerhouse effect, which will increase our damage temporarily after offset and power clashes. So while power clashes aren't relevant here, we get quite a few offsets with the hammer. And then we move on to Uthaduna. For this quest we have Olivia as a support hunter, which is mandatory for the quest, and we're just going for a repel, but due to having 2 hammers on the field we get a lot of KOs, as well as a paralysis. So this quest goes on for a bit, but isn't particularly difficult. Our lighter charges into the spinning bludgeon, because due to the size of the Uthaduna, it's really easy to hit pretty much everything. amazing, especially when she's got her frills up. After enough damage, she moves up to the top of the waterfall as well, which means we're nearing the end of the quest. And we have a spectacular miss on the falling pillar here. I didn't realise you need to activate it after grappling it. But overall, not too eventful of a quest, and we get a visit from Arkveld before we head down to the Oilwell Basin to fight Rompopolo. So Rompopolo's biggest threat is him inflating the ground with poison, but other than that, he isn't too eventful. Once we get up to the Guardian monsters, things will become a bit more explosive. Mostly just go for the head and the legs to get stuns and trips, and loop wounds whenever we can. The major annoyance of this fight is the oil silk slowing us down. Do also get a turf war between Ajarak and Rompopolo here. And then after that, we take him down. There we go. Rompopolo down.
Ready to work.
And we make the defense charm here, because there wasn't too much else we could make. And a bit of defense will be nice before we make our next armor set. And then we hunt Ray down. Ray down is a much more interesting fight compared to what we've had so far, as his lightning covers vast areas, so we need to be a lot more careful with our position. But mostly we still focus for the head to get stuns and trigger paralysis as much as we can. Once we get him in his lair, we also have to deal with the environmental lightning, which is more of a threat as well than other areas, but overall, again, there's still not too much of an issue. Just watch out for lightning. Gets a mighty charge and down he goes. And then we go straight into the Scylla. So we can free Rove, the Woodworm. The Scylla has poison and sleep, which can be a nasty combination, as long as we try and avoid the stinger, which I proceed to not many times throughout this fight. He also has webs, which can be dealt with with Cleanser and with Palaco also. He also gets webbed up in his own arena quite a bit throughout the fight, which leads to some big damage windows. And he also has poison on his spines on his back. But with a combination of stuns, focus blows and paralysis, we can make it through yet again. We then head straight into one of the most annoying hunts in the game, with no dome pods as well, other than the ones given to you by the supplies. Himabami is especially annoying due to how much time is spent in the air, making them hard to reach for a shorter weapon as the hammer. Luckily, once we get them down, we can keep them down for a while though, being stuns and paralysis. which allows us to get massive windows of damage. The only major problem then is the fact that we run out of double mods, so we can't split up the other hero armies. So we just focus on the main one and try to ignore the others as much as possible. Because as soon as we slay the main hero army, the others will leave us be. The quest will finish. We use a lot of flash mods here from the environment to try and keep them stunned, so we can focus on the main one. And we get one more paralysis. And down it goes. From there, we head back to the oil well basin to go hunt the Ajaricans. Olivia will deal with one of them while we fight the other, and then Olivia will meet up with us again later on. Ajarican is one of my favourite fights in this game, especially on guard weapons, as he's really easy to trigger power clashes with. Another nice float to his moveset. The only thing to really worry about with him is the blast flight, but you can deal with that with a few rolls anyway. Again, paralysis is really carrying us through most of these fights and winding up our damage windows. Once he enrages, he starts throwing lava around, so you've got to watch out for that as well. But with decent positioning, you should be fine. Unlike there. He doesn't choose to target us with the ultimate there, so we don't need to charge step out of it. We can just go in for damage. We take him up to the jungle drill and take him out. Then we head straight into Nubidron. The Cephalon monsters in this game pose quite a challenge for the blunt weapons, as we have no way to sever the limbs, so we have to deal with all of them for the whole fight. The fire also poses a big threat, especially his sweeping fire breath, which is going to cause a fate later on in the fight, as I thought I was out of range, but was not. Here. Other than that, we'll take him down pretty uneventfully. He also had that little sweep with his mouth, which is great for interrupting our charges. That we can't cut any of his limbs makes this fight a bit more of a slog to get through it. And you get ready to head into the ruins of Riveria to fight Guardian de Shagama. So we're looking at his armour and Guardian Rakdos' net, but we can't make that until we've repelled Arkfeld. So we just fight him for now. Was a really uneventful and quite quick fight compared to the rest of them. And we're going to use Armour Spheres to upgrade our current armour. And go for Guardian Rathalos. Again, paralysis is still doing a lot of the work, but soon the damage fall off is going to be too great for us to justify continuing to use a paralysis weapon. So while we lose damage windows, the windows we will have do significantly more. Again, we continue to focus on runes to keep Rathalos surrounded as much as possible, and take him out. And then we go straight into Arkfeld. So Guardian Arkfeld is an extremely short quest because it's just a repel. Other than that, this is pretty uneventful as well, as it's done in about 10 minutes. Overall, quests have been taking slightly longer due to the lack of sharpening, but with good monster positioning you can get big enough damage windows to try and offset that, especially before your sharpness fades completely. But I'd say on average we're adding about 5 minutes to every hunt.
Ready to work.
After this we make some Guardian Rathalos armor and a new hammer. Ready to repel Jinder hard.
Guess you've danced with giant monsters before, huh?
Jinder hard is a really interesting fight, especially in low rank, because while it is a siege fight, it functions more like an additional hunt in the low rank version, other than this Eschaton Judgment here, which you pull down the ice chunk and hide behind, otherwise it's a one shot. Hard is not as threatening as this high rank version, so we take him out and go straight into Ebony Odogoron. Guardian Ebony Odogoron is a really agile monster, which poses a difficulty with the weapon as slow as the hammer, so we're more focusing on creating damage opportunities and capitalizing on them instead of just punishing after attacks. So we're looking for things like wounds and opportunities to trip and stun. Because when we can get the Odogoron down, he stays down for a while, which lets us get a lot of damage in. We also need to watch out for the bleed on his claws, because that will put a significant dent in our DPS. And then we take him down. We make some Guardian Ebony Odogoron armor to patch out the rest of our armor set, so now we're using 3 pieces of Rathalos and 2 pieces of Odogoron, which means we have the Wilk Burst skill going, which increases our stamina recovery as well as red health recovery while near Wilk crystals. So for quests in Wyveria, that's almost constant. Here we're fighting Shuru, which again is another cephalopod. Usually in this fight you focus on severing his limbs to make him easier, but we can't do that with a blunt weapon, so we're just focusing the head for as much damage as we can get. He has some pretty big openings between his attacks to allow us to get 2 of our longer combos off as well. So he goes down pretty quickly, and we go straight into Arkfeld. The actual Arkfeld fight is a lot more interesting than the one for the Repel, as he has his full moveset instead of a trimmed down version, and makes full use of the dragon element. Again we focus on bigger windows towards his back, as a lot of his more flashy attacks leave huge windows during and after if you're well positioned to get big damage in, especially in something like the hammer. This fight does go for a while now though, as we're really in a deficit from not having good sharpness. So we just keep focusing wounds and stuns to get the openings as big as possible. And then after about 30 minutes of fighting, we take him down. Ready for the final boss of the run, Zoshia. And then for our final upgrades, we make some Guardian Arkfeld armor and the Guardian Arkfeld hammer. Put some tools on that, and off we go. Now we have a significant damage upgrade, and we're going to find that it was extremely necessary, especially as Zoshia is weak to dragon, but this fight is still known to take about 30 minutes. To start with, we focus on breaking his armor to try and push him into the next phase, because we can't get any actual wounds wounds until he sheds them. Which is quite annoying when that's our biggest form of damage. Is openings from wounds. We just focus on DPSing our way through the early phases to try and push him into the Black Dragon phase. He has a similar Eschaton Judgment-esque attack to Jinderhard. For this you can just hug the edge of the arena to avoid it, or you can pull down pillars to hide behind and make quick crystals. After a bit more damage, the Black Dragon phase where he gets lightning attacks similar to Elatrion and White Fatalis. But in this phase he's very low health. So we've almost finished. There you go. That is all of the low rank story without sharpening. I will be attempting this challenge again for high rank when the story is finished, as we don't have a definitive final boss yet. And there's rumours of one coming. When that releases, assuming around summer in the title update, or later, depending on what happens, I will record the second half of this video. So can you beat Monster Hunter Wilds low rank without sharpening? Yes you can. And I hope you all enjoyed, and there will be another video sometime soon. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.
Good morning. Did you have a good rest?